When I was about 7 or 8 years old, I told my mother I wanted to join a dance class. I can't remember where that idea came from. Probably something I had witnessed at school, because it certainly wasn't a suggestion that came from my parents. You know how some parents insist their children take piano lessons or buy them a guitar for Christmas? Not my mother and father. The last musical instrument I had was a plastic banjo I got when I was about 5. You could wind it up and it played Bicycle Made for Two. The faster you turned, the faster the song went. I still have a tendency to sing that song at top speed. No, things like that were not on my parents' agenda. Even though my dad was apparently in a band himself as a youth. I know this because I remember hearing him tell the story of being in the back of a pickup with his drum kit on the way to a gig, and the pickup couldn't make the hill. San Fernando again, hills everywhere. And it started rolling back down, and he couldn't decide whether to stay in the tray with his drums or to jump out. One of his bandmates chose the disembark option and broke his leg. I guess that's not really funny. Unfortunately, I do not remember how the story ended for my father. Yeah, I know. Sorry, my father often left his stories unfinished. So as I was saying, they never really suggested musical or any other extracurriculars. Mind you, once we did find ourselves involved in something, they were there, fully supporting us. When Sister Helen, the choir teacher, and tiny spawn of Beelzebub, was finally transferred to Port of Spain Convent, and fear and anxiety were no longer a barrier to joining the choir. My parents came to all our concerts. Christmas, Easter, the works. Now don't expect lavish praise from them at the end though. That was not in their wheelhouse at all. I remember at one Christmas concert, I was chosen to sing solo for one verse of the hymn, The Virgin Mary Had a Baby Boy. I was so nervous, but I got through it. On the way home in the car, my dad says, I thought you were going to bus, yes? But you finish it. Which I suppose was Philip speak for good job. They supported my eldest brother in his stint as football captain. Although, I have to tell you, I couldn't then and can't to this day understand how he made captain. Talk about lazy, the boy hardly ever ran the whole game. And then when my middle brother joined the cadets, they supported him in that too. Until he decided to slick his boots on my mother's good bedspread. That was a dark day in the Phillip household. Middle child, no? They're a little special. Anyway, back to the original story. As children, none of us seemed to need to do much outside of school and playing in the street. Not like my son, who had some new activity that he couldn't live without every Monday morning. He would stick with it just long enough for me to spend money, then lose interest and move on to something else. You know, just as soon as you buy football boots, or a gi for karate, or a uniform for scouts. I mean, I still don't know what the hell a toggle is, but I paid for one. Not us. In fact, my mom was so glad that I was expressing an interest in something, she got down to looking for a dance class right away. She ended up finding me a spot with a local group called the Les Enfants Dance Troupe. Sounding good, huh? I was pretty excited about it and traipsed off happily every Saturday afternoon to dance class. My 11-year-old brother, on the other hand, was not enjoying this new hobby of mine at all. Before I joined the class, we usually spent our Saturday afternoons locked in his room, creating a fantasy world made of books and paper. Now, I have since discovered that very few children spent their tweens in this way. But at the time, we thought it was perfectly normal behavior. First, we laid out towns using books of various sizes as houses and public buildings. Then we cut out pictures of people and things from newspapers and magazines. I mean everything that the town needed, from the actual people to cars, appliances, furniture, you name it. Then we would create families, give them a story. And this was ongoing. It was like Dallas, Young and Restless, and Dynasty all roll into one. They didn't have anything on us. We had a serious soap opera going on. Although, of course, we didn't really get up to the kinds of shenanigans the people in the soaps did. I mean, we were children, and it wasn't 2022. The children these days, well, you never know, if you know what I mean. We did all the voices ourselves. The storylines grew and developed over weeks, sometimes months, until we got tired of them, or the newspaper cutout people got torn, or my eldest brother opened the windows and the breeze blew everybody away, whole town. At the end of each day, we would pack them all away in shoe boxes and put the books back in the cupboard. Oh, and open the windows. Yes, we would be in there all day long with the windows closed. I don't know how we survived. I think my mother liked the game because it kept us quiet and out of trouble and not doing things like building a dam out of mud at the bottom of the drain so that all the water from the washing machine backed up and flooded the kitchen. So she left us to it. The knowledge that this was an unusual pastime for young children came much later, when we talked about it with friends and saw the expressions on their faces. Then it was a case of, no, you didn't do anything like that. Of course, we didn't either. Oh, is that Allison over there? Move away quickly. As you can imagine, Saturday with no school and no church was the main day for play. So my Saturday afternoon dance class was impinging on my brother's fantasy life, and he did not like it one bit. He was left on his own, with no one to help him fight off my older brother, who, when he got bored, would fling open the door and start packing up all the books, which were admittedly his. Paper would be flying everywhere. So began my brother's campaign to convince me to quit dance class. That Christmas, Les Enfants had what we can loosely call a recital. I was a bulb in the old Christmas tree number. I loved my shiny costume, even though I couldn't sit down once I had it on. On stage, I thought I nailed it. I mean, how wrong you could go with a series of knee bends and slow spins with your arms above your head. Being on stage was cool though, and I thought I could get used to this. I especially liked the curtain call. On the way home after the concert, my brother spent most of the trip bringing me down from my post-performance high. He said, in not so many words, mind you, but this was clearly the meaning. He said the fact that I was just a bulb was a clear indication of my limited abilities, and that he couldn't believe that that was what all those rehearsals were leading up to. It looks pretty boring to me, he declared, dismissing my efforts. To say he burst my bubble would be a massive understatement. I came down to earth with a thud. Maybe I wasn't going to turn the dance world on its head after all. Which in retrospect reminds me of when the doctor tells the guy he's never going to play the violin again in that old joke. But I digress. When dance classes resumed on the Saturday after the Christmas holidays, my brother set up the town as soon as lunch was over and started taking the people out of the shoe boxes that we stored them in and putting them in their respective homes. I couldn't believe he was going to play without me. I went off to dance class with a little less alacrity than before, and I was kind of relieved when the hour was over and I got to go back home. My brother let me know that several of the paper people had had very eventful afternoons. He said he was tired and ready to close up shop for the afternoon. I helped him pack the people, cars, pets, household appliances away in their boxes, while he regaled me with stories of what I had missed. The next Saturday, I told my mother that I wasn't feeling so good, and I didn't think I would be able to go to dance class. Long story short, I never attended another class. Although I did take part in one more dance experience. I was one of the 12 sailors in the St. Gabriel's Girls RC School rendition of a sailor's hornpipe. Think Popeye, and you might hear the music. No, not Popeye the Sailor Man, the other song. We cleaned up Arts Festival that year. First in South, then we went on to big things in Queen's Hall where we won again. We got to meet Beryl McBurney, who took us back to her house. Never underestimate a dozen prepubescent girls in sailor suits and fake mustaches. That was the highlight of my dancing career. Well, except for the ballet and calypso dance I did on campus for Caribbean night. But that was mostly just drunkenness. As an adult, I have sat in the audience at many a dance show and regretted my decision to quit dance class. I could have been a contender, as they say. Or at least a pretty amazing Christmas tree bulb. Thanks, brother. Men. You can't live with them and you can't shoot them. Anyway, that's it for today. But before I go, I want to thank those of you who listened to the end and who came back after last week. I'll be here again in a couple of weeks, and I hope you all come back a third time. Oh, and I want to thank all the people who reached out to me with encouraging words after my first effort. Yeah, it's your fault that this is a thing now. Just saying. Stay safe until next time.